Hi, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Glowing Anyway. If you're new here, I am your host, Alyssa Haley, or Liz for short. And this is the podcast where we talk all things growth, healing, motherhood, and just wanting more for your life, right? Glowing anyway. What is glowing anyway? Glowing anyway is not what you think it is, right? Most people hear the word glowing and they think that you are shining, right? Your skin is so shiny. You are just amazing. Life is beautiful, wonderful, constantly. And that's just not the case, right? Glowing anyway is choosing kindness in a world that promotes chaos, right? It's choosing to keep going despite all your struggles, despite all the bad things that happen to you. It's choosing to be a kind person when so many things have happened that have given you every reason not to be, okay? Glowing anyway is about choosing to be a light in a world full of darkness, right? Glowing anyway is choosing more for your life. It's being your best self, healing, experiencing peace, growth, all the things. And in my 25 years of life now, today is my birthday. I am recording this ahead of time, but when I post, it will be my birthday and I will officially be 25. Holy moly. Wow. It's just so crazy to say that out loud because when I was a teenager, 25 felt so old to me. And now, I feel even younger, if that makes sense. I feel like it's so weird, the shift of recognizing how much life you still have left to live, right? And that's such a beautiful thing. It is such a beautiful perspective to have now because for whatever reason, my past birthdays, I felt like, oh my God, I'm getting so old. Like I have to rush my life and I have to find a boyfriend and, get the career and all this stuff. And now that I'm 25, I'm like, oh, bump the brakes, slow it down. Like we got a lot of time, girl. And I don't know if that's just my frontal lobe developing. Pretty cliche. But I do know that I have accomplished and overcome so many things in my 25 years of life. Maybe more than most 25-year-olds will go through, including having a baby at the age of 20. 1 month after I turned 20. That in itself is like insane. My daughter is turning 5 next month, and I'm like, oh my God, how do I have a 5-year-old? Like, how do I have a kindergartner? This just doesn't make sense. But everything that has happened thus far has shaped me into the woman that I am today. And I am so grateful for all the lessons, all the memories, all the people, good and bad, that have come and gone and stayed in my life because it truly has shaped who I am today. And I could not be more grateful and more proud of the woman that I have become and that I am becoming. These past few years, specifically as a single mom, I have spent so much time genuinely doing the inner work, doing the healing, right? Going to therapy, journaling, discovering who I am outside of motherhood, right? I feel like so many of us already go through that crisis in our 20s of who am I? What am I doing? Where is my life going? And then you add in motherhood on top of it, and it's just like a double whammy because you kind of go through the same thing postpartum, like literally the same thing all over again. Who am I outside of being a mom? Am I more than just a mom, right? Like, can I still chase my dreams? Should I still chase my dreams? I had 2 identity crises stacked on top of each other these last few years, but as I turned 25, as I inch closer to 25, I feel very peaceful with where I'm at in life. I feel very hopeful and peaceful about where life is going. And though we had a couple fallbacks, a couple setbacks, right? What's life without a couple setbacks? I genuinely think it's going to be a good year. We're going up from here, you know. We still are going to have a couple downs, of course, but I have put together a list of 25 lessons, 25 things in different categories that I have learned by the age of 25. Some of them still learning. Some of them might be repeat lessons. And that's the beautiful thing about life. You can learn a lesson and it might come back a few times until you really, really get the point, right? But that's the beautiful thing about life. There's always something to learn from and grow from and more healing to do to become who you're meant to be, right? To step into your highest self, your most peaceful, happiest life. And who wouldn't want to experience that? I know I do. I want to be at home on a beach one day. No, but like real talk, when you experience peace, and I truly hope that some of you listening to this have felt it or like know what I'm talking about, because once you experience true peace, once you heal enough to a point where you achieve peace, you will realize just how expensive it is. You will realize just how valuable that is, and you will strive to be in peace the rest of your life, even if it means healing from something new every other day, right? That kind of brings me to my first group of things. I put these in different categories to kind of structure it a little bit more, but our first category, 25 things I've learned by 25, we have on myself. 25 things I've learned on being yourself. Number 1, you can't outrun who you are, okay? Healing finds you eventually. And that's kind of what I just said. Like, you can push past things. You can try to rush past seasons of your life, but healing is going to catch up to you, whether it's bringing a person into your life who mirrors something back at you and shows you what you need to heal from, or a certain situation happens that kind of forces you into healing. You cannot outrun who you are. You can't outrun certain pieces of you, because those lessons will keep being reflected back at you until you learn them. And for me, the most common theme in my life that this showed up in was love. I had anxious attachment issues, and it kept coming back around and around and around, because I would think I healed from something, but I really didn't. I was just distracting myself. And every time I would get into something new, a new relationship, it would pop back up again, until one day I finally sat myself down. I said, okay, this is a pattern. This is clearly a pattern with you that you need to heal, or it's just going to keep happening. And I ended up being able to fix that with a lot of therapy and a lot of reading, but healing will always find you. It's up to you to do the work so that you don't have to keep experiencing those toxic cycles. But moving along to our next one, number 2, protecting your peace isn't selfish, it's survival, right? And I kind of said that in our intro. Your peace is one of the most valuable things you have ever, period. When you allow chaos into your life breeds more chaos, okay? You need to set boundaries, protect your peace, and not feel bad about it when you do. I had such a hard time with this one because I've just been a people pleaser my whole life, and I had trouble saying no to things that I knew were going to drain me. Like, maybe I was so tired from working all week and I had a family party or something, and I felt bad saying no because I felt selfish about it. I felt like, oh, well, they come to my birthday parties, I should go to theirs. But then guess what? I left myself with no time to heal over the weekend. And now, next thing you know, I'm set up for a stressful week. You really need to know when to take a step back and say, okay, I need to sit this one out. I need to just protect my peace on this one, right? Moving on. Number 3, the version of you that people are uncomfortable with is often the most authentic one. And what do I mean by this? Okay. Again, this stems from people pleasing, but I found that when I was setting boundaries and healing that people-pleasing side of myself, which really is just equal to self-abandonment. People were not happy, were not comfortable with me setting boundaries finally, because I wasn't abandoning myself and my needs any longer to appease them. I was talking to somebody once and I found myself people pleasing, abandoning myself over and over and over again for the sake of being nice, being sweet, not calling out behavior that I wasn't okay with, right? And by calling out, I mean like respectfully being like, hey, you're doing this thing, this is bothering me, right? Communicating. And because I was abandoning myself for so long and not speaking on this thing, not being truly authentic, the one day I did kind of snap a little bit. I just got short and my emotions came out. And that was my most authentic self after that point. I just let everything out. I explained that certain things were bothering me and he was not happy with that. Safe to say, things ended. But if you have trouble finding who you genuinely are or what kind of things bother you or how to kind of set boundaries, anything like that, that is your most authentic self. Okay, number 4. This is a good one. Rest is not something you have to earn. Rest is not a reward that you have to earn. I'm going to leave that one as it is because I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. Number 5, your intuition has never actually been wrong. You've just talked yourself out of it. Yeah, this one's a good one. This one is a good one because part of growing up, part of maturing is me looking back and realizing just how many times I have gut feelings about people, about situations, guys that I was going to date, and then seeing how poorly it ended and being like, girl, that was your gut. That was your intuition trying to tell you something. And you talked yourself out of it. You gave yourself every single reason why something was okay and like you were good. That was your intuition. So, moral of the story, if you ever have that gut feeling, please don't talk yourself out of it anymore because you usually end up being right. And 9 times out of 10, you probably will save yourself some trouble just going with your gut, with your intuition. On to the next section. This section is kind of about growth and hard seasons. So our first one, number 6, the in-between is not wasted time. And what I mean by this is you're going to go through seasons of your life that kind of feel like nothing's happening, that feel like you were in limbo, right? That time is not wasted. In fact, that is some of the most valuable time that there is because you're learning important lessons you need to learn. You're doing important work, planting important seeds that need to be planted so that you can bloom in the next season. And that brings us to number 7. Starting over isn't failure. It's just a different path to the same destination. I love this one. Okay. My last couple episodes, we kind of talked about this on changing your life and how you're always going to have to start over and get back up and try again. And that it doesn't mean you failed. It just means you're taking a new path to the same destination. Okay. You hit a little roadblock. This path has got a road closure, okay? So you just got to reevaluate and pick a new path, right? Number 8, the things that broke you also built you, sometimes simultaneously, whether it be breakups, hard times you might have been going through with family or your mental health. The things that broke you also built you. Think of all of the hard things that you've been through. They sucked. Okay. Yeah. When you were going through them, they sucked. But you know what? You came out of it and now look at where you are in life. You built something beautiful off of that pain. Pain often has purpose. As much as it sucks and we don't want to hear that, it has a purpose. Number 9, you don't have to have it all figured out to keep going. A huge part of life is just rolling with the punches. It literally is just waking up every day and doing it. Sometimes being a single mom, I said this in one of my videos, I was like, do any of us know what we're doing or are we just like kind of doing it? That's how I feel 99% of the time. I just wake up and I just keep going. I just keep moving. I keep stepping. I used to stress wanting to have every single detail of my life planned out when I was younger. Like literally everything. And I just had I wanted to grip the reins of my life. And by doing that, I just stressed myself out so badly. It's just not worth it. You just got to let it go and let God. And that should be one in itself. You just got to let it go and let God. Because trying to have such a strong grip on your life, trying to plan out every single detail to a T is going to stress you out. That's not going to help you at all. Okay. Number 10, the last one for this section. Growth is quiet. Growth is quiet. And it doesn't always look like progress on the outside. Remember, I gave that seed analogy. Think of how much goes on under the surface when you plant a seed, right? I'm growing dahlias this year for my cut flower garden, and they took forever to sprout, those little things. My zinnias are doing much better, but the dahlias, I think, are one of the most beautiful, intricate flowers, and they take more time to sprout because what you don't see before that little green shoot pops up is the roots. You don't see the intricate root system that's going to hold the plant down, okay, in the hard seasons, in the hard weather, growing. You don't see that part. And that is the exact same thing in our lives. Growth is often quiet, and you don't see it until it already has rooted and it's sprouting. Sometimes it shows up many months, even years later. I was talking to one of my best friends a few months ago, earlier in this year, and she was talking about how much progress I've made with just being in my single season. And she's like, you genuinely have seen so much growth, so much personal growth, just focusing on yourself. And she's like, I can tell that you're doing the work, you're doing the healing. It shows now. And I did not feel that way at the time. Now I do, but growth is quiet. Speaking of relationships and healing, that's our next topic, relationships and people. Number 11, you can love someone and still choose yourself. Okay. I have been in a scenario in my life where I thought I did love somebody. And at the end of the day, I had to choose myself because I realized we weren't compatible long term, right? Maybe wanted different things out of life. We were headed in different directions. You can love somebody and still choose to let them go. Okay. Number 12. Not everyone who leaves was meant to stay. This is a tough one, girls. This is a tough one because I know we have all had a breakup, a talking stage, and that we didn't want the person to leave. We weren't ready for things to end, right? But some people were simply not meant to stay in your life. Some people are literally meant to just come into your life for a season, for a reason, right? To teach you things. And then they have to go. When it's their time, they have to go. Not everybody can stick around. And this applies to relationships, friendships. People serve purposes in each other's lives, and then they go and we move on, right? Number 13. The people who show up in your hardest moments are your real ones, okay? Those are your real friends. The people who stick by you through some of the hardest times of your life, those are the people you want to hold close, okay? You don't want people that run away when shit hits the fan, because shit is gonna hit the fan in life. It happens. Life isn't all sunshine and rainbows. As much as I would love for it to be, bad things are gonna happen in your life eventually. Somebody's gonna pass away. You're gonna go through a breakup. It's natural. It's a part of life. It's a part of the cycle. And you want real ones by your side when it happens, okay? Number 14. Stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided who you are. I wish I could mic drop on that one. Okay. Stop explaining yourself to people who have already decided who you are. You're going to be the villain in some people's stories. I hate to break it to you, but you are going to be the villain in some people's stories because maybe you did do something bad. Maybe you did deserve to be the villain, but you learned from it and you grew from it. Okay, that's fine. But sometimes you're going to be the villain simply because people can't accept the reality of the situation, because people can't take accountability, or they just need somebody to blame. Sometimes it's just about needing somebody to blame. And you have to recognize that that says nothing about you. That says nothing about your worth, okay? There is no point in sitting there trying to explain yourself to people who have already made up their minds. They're not going to change their mind, and it's not worth it, okay? Move on and move along. Number 15. Loneliness and being alone are two completely different things. Loneliness and being alone are two completely different things, okay? I feel like I don't need to go into details on this one, but stop accepting situations that you typically would not accept that fall below your standards just because you're lonely. Okay, on to the next section, shall we? This section I just titled Doing the Work. To kick it off, done is better than perfect, especially when fear is the reason that you're stalling. I think I'm going to just say, if this one intrigues you, go listen to the last podcast episode because I go really into depth on this one. Next one, 17. Betting on yourself is terrifying and also the only real option that there is. This can have a lot of different meanings, okay? For some people, it might be just betting on yourself in general, in all areas of your life, career, love, healing, right? For some people, it might be one specific area. Most of us, I think, would say career or personal development. Betting on yourself is absolutely terrifying. But what's the alternative? What's the alternative? We live a sad, miserable life the rest of our lives. We bet on somebody else. You deserve to win. You deserve to win too. If you keep betting on everybody but yourself, you're not going to go anywhere in life, okay? Start betting on yourself. I promise you, it will pay off. Number 18. Consistency compounds. The boring days matter more than your inspirational days. This one, super true. I get days where I am so inspired, honestly, a day like today, where I want to sit down and record a bunch of stuff. I want to get a bunch of stuff done. I want to do a million things in one day, right? But then my boring days roll around. Then my unmotivated days rolled around. The days where I do not want to do a thing. Well, guess what? If you only have 2 inspirational days a month and the rest of them are boring months where you choose to do nothing just because you're unmotivated and you're uninspired, you probably aren't going to go very far because consistency matters more than anything else, okay? Even if you can only do half the work you do on an inspirational day, even if you can only do a quarter of the work, eventually that compounds over time. And that's been like a big part of my life this year, specifically this past year, is figuring out systems that work for me so that I can still show up for myself on the boring days, on the days I don't want to do anything, because that all adds up, right? Because if you do nothing, you're going to be in the same place in 2 years. Number 19. Nobody is coming to save you. And once you realize that, you become unstoppable. Oh my God. So freaking true. Especially as a single mom. I feel like most single moms may have heard this before or resonate with it. I feel like for a lot of my early years, when I first became a single mom, like 20, 21, 22 even 23, I was just waiting for somebody to come save me. I don't know how else to describe it other than like, you're just waiting. Whether it's for a man, husband, you just feel like somebody is going to come save you because it's harder to face the reality. But as soon as you do, you truly, genuinely become unstoppable. That is when I started all of this. That's when I started building the empire because I realized nobody's going to do it for me but myself, right? Number 20. Your story is your strategy. Okay? Stop hiding it. This one might be a little more specific to myself. I don't know if many people can resonate with this, but I feel like I wanted to inspire people with the things I've been through, with my story of being a young mom, becoming a single mom, but I didn't want to limit myself to only talking about motherhood, if that makes sense, because such a big part of my brand is about being more than just a mom, about building more for your life, wanting more for yourselves. I got in this weird rut kind of because I am a young mom, and I at least didn't think that there was many of us out there. So I said, well, I don't really relate to the 20-something-year-old women with no kids, but I also don't fully relate to women who are having kids nowadays. They're older. I'm kind of in this weird position. But when I started sharing more of my story and just being authentic, it actually helped. Who would have thought? Share your story always. Tell your truths always. You never know. You never know who it's going to help. This is also kind of like a separate point in itself, but I feel like I used to be ashamed almost of talking about my past because before I had my daughter, I was not a great person. Like, I partied, I was depressed, I didn't listen to my parents, I didn't want to do things. I was very insecure. But I started realizing that this woman now wouldn't exist without having gone through all those things, right? And like giving myself grace and telling myself I was young, and everybody goes through crazy periods at one point or another, but stop hiding your story. Moral of the story. On to our very last section. And this is just life in general, okay? These are kind of like our closing notes. 21. You will not get this version of your life back. Be here for it. Okay. With trying to build something bigger for my life, with chasing my dreams, with being a mom, we get so caught up in the everyday shuffle, in the roboticness of it, that you forget that you're living smack dab in the middle of things you used to pray for. You will never be this young again. You will never have as much freedom as you do right now being single. Like, I try to remind myself of that when I get a little upset that I haven't met the one yet. You will never get this period of being a single woman in her 20s back ever again. Enjoy it. This is a piece of your life just as much as all the things in the future are. 22. Rushing your life is just a way of not trusting yourself. Whether it be rushing relationships, trying to rush a career, anything in general, trying to rush your life is like saying you don't trust yourself for it all to work out. 23. Money is a tool, not a measure of worth, but learn how to use it anyway. Okay. I was taught nothing about finances, literally nothing at all. Everything that I've had to learn, I have had to learn the hard way and on my own, okay? But I cannot stress how important it is to understand budgeting, investing, like everything there is to know about money. And the truth is, you can never have too much of it or too many income streams. So 24. Asking for help is a form of strength most people never develop. Do not be too prideful to ask for help, is what I'm trying to say with this one. You're not a superhero. You're just not. You can't do it all, okay? You can do hard things. You can do a lot of things, but you can't do it all. And this specifically applies to the whole having a village thing. As a single mom, I would not be able to do half the things I do without my village. And that includes neighbors, friends, family, schools. Don't be too prideful to ask for help when you need it. Because when you don't ask for help and you let yourself drown, it's a recipe for disaster. Moral of the story, always ask for help, okay? 25. Our last and final note, and arguably my favorite. You have already survived everything you thought would break you. That is worth something. Like reminiscing on just like some of the shittiest things I've been through, and I'm sure some of you listening can relate. When you look back on those hard moments of your life and how you felt in the middle of it, when you felt like there was no way out, it was never going to end, you already survived that. And that's just proof that you can survive anything else that comes your way. With that, we end our 25 things I've learned by 25. Holy moly. This might be my longest episode yet, but I feel like it was one of the most meaningful. And I want to kind of close it out with a message or a wish for myself for this year. You are so much stronger than you give yourself credit for. You show up every day and do the hard things with all of the odds against you. You choose peace and to be a bigger person when given every reason not to be. Okay, you are capable of achieving your craziest of dreams, but you have to get out of your own head. You have to get out of your own way and do it. And just do it. Continue to do the things that make you happy. Continue to pick up the hobbies that make you happy. Go out and do the damn thing. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, for listening to this episode. And I'm very, 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 very grateful to see 25. And I cannot wait for what this year has in store for me. So I hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you on next week's episode. If you're not already, be sure to follow us on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube at Glowing Anyway. And yeah, I'll see you next week. Bye.